Hey guys, welcome back to the Prehistoric Life podcast. I'm your host, Eric Crawford, and today we're diving in. This is not a new idea that I have done, but this will be the Christmas, Hanukkah, winter solstice, holiday special for the winter fight. This is the ultimate fight of the North versus the South. The poles versus poles, North Pole versus South Pole. The big bad carnivore of Alaska versus the big bad carnivore of Antarctica. So today we have Crylophosaurus versus Nanuqsaurus. This is the Crylophosaurus, the crested Antarctic lizard, versus Nanuqsaurus, the polar bear Alaskan T-Rex lizard. So today we're going to dive in we're going to start with Crylophosaurus. Coming in, we're going to look at their weight, their size, their length, possible top speeds, bite force if I can actually find anything for any of these dinosaurs. And we're going to go based on that and special attributes about these creatures. So today we're going to dive in first off with Crylophosaurus, coming in at a whopping 26 feet long, weighing about 22 tons and about 8.2 feet tall. So this guy was found in Antarctica. I could not find anything about its bite force. But I do see everything comparing it to Albertosaurus. So take this with a grain of salt, but the Albertosaurus bite force is 1,536 newtons for the anterior teeth, 2,143 newtons for the middle teeth, and about 3,413 newtons for the posterior teeth. So take that with a grain of salt. But Crylophosaurus did have very good eyesight. Its binocular vision for seeing depth was actually it did not have very good eyesight. Its binocular vision for seeing depth was not that good. But I'm going to say its teeth were its sense of smell was probably really good, considering that it had to hunt in blizzards and things because it was in Antarctica. So, yeah, that might not really help. But the eyesight of these things were probably not the best, considering that they were, not in the best area for eyesight, that they might have gotten blizzards, so they couldn't really see, so they had to rely on other senses like smell and things. These things probably also hunted similarly to Nanuqsaurus, considering that they were in more tundra-like biomes, so they didn't really have the cover of forest or things like that. So this battle will be taking place in a tundra plains, face-to-face, so they will not have any kind of secret advantage of hiding off in woodland kind of areas. So we're going to go ahead and look at what I see of Crylophosaurus, all the pictures I see for Crylophosaurus, it is more reptilian in look. This one, there's one or two that do have feathers, but so it does seem to be feathered considering that it lived in Antarctica, but there are possibly more lizard-like appearances. So take that with a grain of salt, as you will. It probably did have feathers, considering that it lived in Antarctica. So, yeah. I'm going to say that this guy probably had feathers. So now we're going to move on to Nanuqsaurus. So it was about 5.9 feet tall, 1,800 to 1.8 tons, and about 19.69 feet tall. This thing is the Alaskan T-Rex counterpart. So I'm going to give it a rougher estimate probably of a juvenile T-Rex. So yeah. So I'm going to give it the juvenile T-Rex bite force of 4,000 lbs, pounds per square inch. No, newtons of force. Sorry, that's not even the right area. So the bite force of around 4,000 newtons of force, give or take, roughly. So Nanuqsaurus did have feathers. It lived in polar. What did I say it was? Polar woodlands. So yeah, it did probably rely on some form of what would you call this? Stalking kind of. It probably did have a little bit of that what do you call it? Yeah, I guess stalking and waiting kind of hunt. Nanuqsaurus did have a really amazing smell though. It did have a really confirmed really amazing sense of smell. So I said maybe for the Crylophosaurus, but this thing definitely did. So I'm going to say that it did take that. It definitely did have feathers because of where it lived. We have kind of determined that. So we're going to say that it did have feathers. Oh, I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Hang on. But it was comparable to T-Rex and was in prehistoric planet too, while Crylophosaurus wasn't. But yeah, I'm going to say that this bad boy. Yeah, I'm going to say it's fairly similar to Crylophosaurus. It was feathered. Its bite force was significantly greater, though, in all areas. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, yeah, I'm basically going to just put these two head to head. I do not have any animation for this, so please don't expect that. But I will kind of try to word you through it. Yeah. So we're going to crunch the numbers real quick, talk about attributes and things like that, and basically just dive right in and have a little fight. So this will be taking in a polar wasteland, basically a tundra. So yeah, I'm not really going to give one an advantage where one stalked its prey in the forest, but the other one had to fight in the tundra plains. They're going to go in the tundra plains flat out, head to head, face on. So a lone Nanuqsaurus, Alaskan T Rex, got drifted on some piece of ice and managed to make its way down to Antarctica. I don't know. We'll say it's just venturing off in Antarctica or something. It ventured all the way down, made it all the way through North America and South America, and now it's in Antarctica. So Nanuqsaurus and Crylophosaurus go head to head. Crylophosaurus towering over Nanuqsaurus. Nanuqsaurus charges in and gets a good bite in, but the Crylophosaurus is able to jolt its head back quick enough to dodge the bite. It does a sidestep and bites the Nanuqsaurus on the neck. The Nanuqsaurus is screaming out in agony, roaring out, but it's able to break free. Nanuqsaurus quickly does a sidestep, while Crylophosaurus uses its hands to push Nanuqsaurus onto its side. Nanuqsaurus rolls over, remounting its feet, turning. Crylophosaurus goes in for a charge. Nanuqsaurus does a quick step back, and then as Crylophosaurus bites down and misses Nanuqsaurus, Nanuqsaurus clamps down on Crylophosaurus' face, starting to crush the skull. Crylophosaurus is roaring out in agony, unable to do anything, but its hands scratch at the face of Nanuqsaurus, blinding it as it tears out an eye. Nanuqsaurus quickly clamps down even more, pushing Crylophosaurus to the ground as it quickly maneuvers to the neck, biting down on the neck, slowly crushing. Crylophosaurus is able to scratch again and scratch at Nanuqsaurus' face, causing it to scream out in agony. Amazingly, the Nanuqsaurus has to release its grip from the pain, while Crylophosaurus quickly scurries and stands back up. Towering over Nanuqsaurus, it bites the back of its neck, uses its foot to kind of push down on Nanuqsaurus, and it uses its hands and foot to push Nanuqsaurus onto its side while it grips the neck. Nanuqsaurus is looking in bad. The snow is covered in the blood of these two amazing beasts. As Nanuqsaurus bleeds out, Crylophosaurus stumbles back. Nanuqsaurus barely stumbles onto its feet as it looks on, an eye slashed out from Crylophosaurus. You can see their breath in the snow as they stare each other down. Nanuqsaurus and Crylophosaurus let out a loud roar as they charge towards each other. They actually butt heads really hard, hitting each other's skull really hard. Dazed, Crylophosaurus actually kind of catches its ground a little bit, but still dazed. Nanuqsaurus quickly recovers, stepping, biting on Crylophosaurus' arms, biting through the bone, and breaking the arm of Crylophosaurus. Slowly cramping down, actually biting the arm off Crylophosaurus as it bites and tears off the arm. Crylophosaurus screams out in agony, jolting its head up. Nanuqsaurus quickly goes for the jugular, clamping its teeth in the jugular as it breaks the windpipe. Blood slowly oozes into the throat of Crylophosaurus as Nanuqsaurus rips and tears the jugular out of Crylophosaurus. Crylophosaurus falls to the ground, coughing up blood, with one final desperate roar. Nanuqsaurus bites Crylophosaurus in the back of the neck, breaking its neck, finishing the battle. Nanuqsaurus is the victor. So, surprisingly, I'm going to go, okay, this is the in-depth analysis, basically. This is how I'm going to say Nanuqsaurus wins. So, I think Nanuqsaurus would win. A lot of people, I love Crylophosaurus. Don't get me wrong. It's up there. And it is actually bigger, coming in at a whopping 8.2 feet tall, while Nanuqsaurus was only 5.9 feet tall. So this thing is towering 3 feet above Nanuqsaurus. But here's the thing. I don't know the actual bite force for Crylophosaurus, so I gave it the Albertosaurus. The only parts that were actually capable of being comparable to even juvenile T-Rex, which I gave Nanuqsaurus the equivalent to, would be the posterior teeth, which was actually significantly less. So I gave Nanuqsaurus a bite force of 4,000 newtons of force, comparable to a juvenile T-Rex. Now, these things had bull necks, giant bulging necks that you could not snap like a T-Rex. Well, you can't snap a T-Rex's neck. I'm saying it's comparable to a T-Rex neck. So, Crylophosaurus did not have the victory on that. It could not snap the neck of this thing, finishing it off in any way like that. But the PSI to break bone is only 1,700. So, I mean, Nanuqsaurus was almost, well, not even almost that. Actually, it was significantly double that now that I'm thinking about it. Because it's 1,700 before. It was pretty much double that. Well, no, that'd be like what? 14,000? So, no, it wasn't double that, but it was 4,000 newtons. Crylophosaurus very well could have broken bone with the middle teeth, but the anterior teeth at the very front were barely capable of breaking bone at 15,000. And that's human bone. These things probably had a lot more thicker bone. So I'm giving the edge to Nanuqsaurus on bite force, just based on it had a rougher bite force. The thing that Crylophosaurus had going for it was its arms. It actually had usable appendage arms with 3 big claw fingers. Nanuqsaurus did not have arms like that at all. It actually had T-Rex-like arms with the 2 little useless fingers, as you can kind of see here. So Nanuqsaurus did not have the edge in that close quarters if they got there. So it does have the edge in bite force, but Crylophosaurus has size and its claws. But the Nanuqsaurus has the bull neck, and the jugular is not technically protected by bone if you go from the bottom. So, and it being smaller actually gave it that better vantage point of that. Granted, Nanuqsaurus probably would almost bleed out and die. But here's the thing. Crylophosaurus was like the biggest predator in its area. Nanuqsaurus was too, but the prey that Crylophosaurus was roughly the same size, if not smaller. So it was used to fighting smaller prey, which does technically give an advantage to Nanuqsaurus. But Nanuqsaurus was used to fighting things like Pachyrhinosaurus and like a giant hadrosaur that lived in Alaska. So it was actually more comparable to take down larger prey. Granted, they both could have very much so walked away with a victory, but I'm still giving the edge to Nanuqsaurus. It's used to fighting larger predators. It had the bigger bite force. It could break bone with its bite force. It had the bull neck, so it was able to do that. Its sense of smell was better. So granted, that didn't really have anything to do with this fight. But if there was a blizzard and Crylophosaurus tried to use that blizzard to hide, Nanuqsaurus could have very well used its sense of smell to scout out the Crylophosaurus. So the winner of this episode is Nanuqsaurus. Thank you all so much for tuning into this episode. Remember to check out the website. From there, you can find the Instagram and the YouTube page. You can see the Instagram and the YouTube page. And while you're there, go check those out. Gotta pull them up. Hang on. Go check out the YouTube page. That is where I try to post everything a little bit earlier. Just to kind of, let that be out there a little bit earlier. Also, just because I want to post it earlier. But also remember to check out the Instagram page. That is where you can get all of the additional content on top of the dinos of the week. You get news about interviews, just additional content, things like that. So please go check that out. And remember, I'm your host, Eric Crawford, signing off. This has been Prehistoric Live Podcast. See you all next time. Remember, keep it prehistoric. Goodbye.